আচ্ছা এই মাইকটা নিব
এখান থেকে কোনো মাইক চলছে চলো ওই তো চলছে এই যে অনির্বাণ বল
কি শুরু করে দিচ্ছি কি অন অরিন্দম
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ ক্যামেরার সামনে থেকে বল হ্যাঁ মাইক ওই যে বললে হবে তো এই এখানে বলবি
Welcome back to session 2 of day 1 of Icaa, the International Conference on Applied Algorithms 2026. I am Shriti Kona, Assistant Professor of CSE Department, and I'll be hosting this session. We shall now begin the invited talk of session 2 of Icaa 2026, which will be delivered online by Professor Kurt Melhern from the Max Planck Institute for Informatics, Germany. This session will be chaired by Professor Saurabh Chakraborty. Dr. Chakraborty is a professor of computer science at the ISI Kolkata. He obtained his bachelor's degree in mathematics from the Chennai Mathematical Institute in 2003, followed by his master's degree in 2005 and PhD in 2008 in computer science from the University of Chicago. There, he worked under the renowned mathematician and computer scientist, Professor Laszlo Babai. Dr. Chakraborty carried out his postdoctoral research at Technion, Israel, and CWI Amsterdam before joining the Chennai Mathematical Institute in 2010 and later moving on to ISI Kolkata in 2018. His primary research interests are in theoretical computer science. He has authored nearly 100 research publications, most of which have appeared in top-tier conferences and journals. He is well known for designing the CVM algorithm, which has received wide recognition and has been incorporated into the Python modules. He has also Boolean functions named after him, called the Chakraborty function. Several of his works are listed among the most influential papers in computer science. He is currently involved in understanding and proving the correctness of AI/ML techniques and how verification of algorithms or results is done using modern techniques. The current best verification tools called Barbaric for a certain kind of AI/ML technique is designed by him. Sir, we are truly honored to have you here with us today. May I now request you to just come over the stage and take over the session?
Good.
Sir, you may now introduce Professor Kurt. He is online already with us.
I see. Switch করো switch করো
Am I audible? Yeah.
I think you're muted.
Serving as the research advisory board of the of TCS and is in the advisory board of the Carnegie Mellon in Qatar. Professor Mellon, I let you give the talk now. We are all eagerly waiting for your presentation.
Yeah, thank you very much for the invitation. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? And can you allow me to share my screen?
You're not audible.
I'm not audible. Let me check. Microphone should work. Let me try this one. Can you hear me now? No.
No, I think he cannot.
Can you hear me now? No? It looks okay on my side.
Hello, can you hear
Yes,
me?
I can hear you,
Perfect.
but I cannot share my screen. It says host disabled participant screen sharing. And can you hear me?
You are now allowed to share your screen.
I'm now allowed to share my screen. Okay. Okay. Can you see my screen now? Looks okay, but you still cannot hear me. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Okay, I can hear you, so I can start. Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for the invitation. I hope my slides are visible, and you can hear me well. So I want to talk about an old problem, general matching in graphs. And let me start right away with an example so that we are all on the same page. Oh, by the way, you can interrupt me at any time if you want to ask a question. So we're given an undirected graph, as you show, and the goal is to determine a maximum set M of edges such that no edges in M share an endpoint. Yeah, so a maximum matching. In my example, a matching is shown in blue. The blue edges form a matching. And I claim it is maximum. Now, this is not obvious that it is maximum because there are two vertices here, this one and this one. They're both unmatched. And so conceivably, there could be a matching of one larger size, but there isn't. And the first thing I want to show you is that the node labels that I have shown, I have labeled the nodes white, black, and red, that they form a proof that this matching is maximum. Let me show you this. So in the picture on the left is again our graph. And here is a little theorem. Matching M has maximum cardinality if there is a labeling L of the vertices, a labeling with non-negative integers. In my example, white stands for 0, black stands for 1, red stands for 2. So we have a labeling of the vertices with non-negative integers such that for every edge UV, so look at any one of the edges, for example, this one here, at least one of the endpoints is labeled 1, so black or both endpoints are labeled the same, and the label is 2 or more. So in my example, there are these 3 vertices here. They're labeled 2, and they cover these 3 edges. And if you look at any of the other edges, at least one of the endpoints is black. Yeah, so the edges up here, I mean, for this edge, even 2 endpoints are black, but for all these edges, one endpoint is black. For these edges, one endpoint is black. For these edges, one endpoint is black. And for these edges, one endpoint is black. So this first condition is satisfied. And second, if you look at the cardinality of the matching, the cardinality of the matching is 5 in my example. There are 5 blue edges. And you look at the N1, this is the number of vertices labeled 1. We have 4 here. And the number of vertices labeled 2, it's 3. And it says if you add N1 and you half N2 and you round down, so this gives you 1. And so this equality here holds, namely 5, the size of the matching is 4 plus 1. Then this matching is maximum. And here is the proof. Let n be any matching. So we're now going to prove that this matching is maximum. And let n1 be the edges in this matching with at least one endpoint labeled 1. And for I greater than equal to 2, let ni be the edges with both endpoints labeled I. Then by the first condition, we cover all the edges. So n is n1 and union ni, I greater than equal to 2. And also, because edges in a matching do not share endpoints, we can have at most little n1 edges in capital N1, and the number of edges in ni is at most ni divided by 2. And because this is an integer, we can round down. And therefore, we have that the cardinality of n is at most this here of any matching. And if we have equality, the matching is maximum. Okay. The algorithm I'm going to explain, discuss, does not just compute the matching. It also computes the L with this property. And then we have a small program that checks that these conditions hold. And we have even have a formal proof that the checker implements the theorem. So we can be quite sure that our implementation is correct. Now let me talk about matching algorithms, about the history of the algorithms and the history of implementations. It all started in 1965. Jack Edmonds gave a polynomial algorithm for matching. In fact, this sort of started the definition. This was basically the definition of P. He argued that polynomial time is the right concept of efficiently, feasibly computable. And he gave a polynomial time algorithm for matching, which is, I mean, in hindsight, this is absolutely amazing. Because if this sort of matching in general graphs is still considered to be a hard topic and it's hardly taught. And sort of the first polynomial algorithm that was ever invented is for this problem. Okay, so he gave a polynomial time algorithm in 1965. It ran in time, I think, remember, n to the 4 or n to the 5. Then in the 1970s, sort of people started to look for more efficient implementations. And Gabo gave an implementation that runs in time nm times Ackermann inverse, which then later Gabo and Tarjan improved to nm. And I implemented this algorithm some time ago and made it available in this library of efficient data types and algorithms. Then there is a very nice paper by Kesesioglu and Pekür. This is an implementation paper. They gave heuristic improvements. I say more about this later. And then came the big jump, namely running time root m times m, which was known since the 1970s for matching in bipartite graphs. But for general graphs, this is much harder. And Micali and Vazirani gave a polynomial time algorithm in 1980. Then Vazirani wrote a sequence of papers, 94, 12, 20, 24, where he explains these algorithms better and better. Goldberg and Karsanov gave an alternative algorithm in 2004. Gabo and Tarjan gave an alternative algorithm in 91, which was then refined by Gabo in 2017. And I'm building on this paper. Implementations of the Micali-Vazirani algorithm of this one are available by Mattingly and Ritchie from 91 and by Wang and Stein from 2017. And what I want to talk about today is a refinement of Gabo's algorithm. I think we made it simpler, and a C++ implementation and experiments. And I should mention, this is joint work with Romina Nobahari. Romina was my postdoc, my intern last year, and we worked on this algorithm. And she's maybe in the audience. So we talk about refinements of the algorithm, C++ implementation, experiments. On worst case graphs, of course, root NM is much better than NM. On sparse random graphs, the algorithm has near linear running time, namely running time m log n. And this is also true for the old algorithm with this heuristic. This heuristic is extremely powerful. We ran our implementation and also the implementation by Wang and Stein on millions of examples and checked the results. This is always correct. We also compared the running times, which is a bit unfair because our implementation is in C++ and Wang and Stein implemented in Python. And so we are about 15 to 20 times faster than they are. But this is what is reported in the literature. If one implements the same program in Python and in C++, the Python program will be about 15 to 20 times slower. Okay, here are some experiments. We defined two worst-case families of sparse graphs. So here is a picture of the graph. So there is a complete graph here. This is a complete graph. On about root n vertices. And so n edges, approximately. Then we attach to it chains of length 7 and n of them. So this is also size order n. And then one chain of size 9, one chain of size 11, and one chain of up to size root n. So this is also order n. And on this graph here, the old algorithm has running time n square. And let's say we also start with the initial matching where, I mean, we start with a matching where in GC everything is matched, and on this path just the endpoints are free. And then what happens is whenever you do, in this old graph, whenever you do an augmentation, you explore the entire graph and you need to do order n augmentations. Then the running time will be n squared. Gabo's running time will be n to the 3 over 2 because all these augmentations are done simultaneously. And if you keep only the short chains, then the difference is even more drastic. The new algorithm runs in linear time and the old algorithm runs in quadratic time. Here are some, the bounds, these bounds do not only hold for a particular representation of the graph, but for most representations. For random graphs, sparse graphs with about a linear number of edges are the hardest. This new algorithm is provably near linear. We wrote a paper, I mean, without knowing the algorithm, we proved about 20 years ago that if you have a random graph with a linear, at least Cn edges, where C is 500 or more, then there is always, if you have a non-maximum matching, there is always a logarithmic length augmenting path with high probability. We proved this for C equal to 500. Experimentally, any number C works, in particular C equal to 4 or C equal to 3 works. And so this is M log n. The heuristic by Kesioglu and Pakur also seems to be near linear. Without the heuristic, the old algorithm is quadratic. So here are some running times. For random graphs, this is the old algorithm. This is the old algorithm with the heuristic. This is the new algorithm. And you see for random graphs, I ran examples with n equal to 80,000, 160,000, 320,000. So the running times, if you see from here to here, it's basically doubled. The quadratic running times are much bigger, and the heuristic does very well, but it seems that the running times grow faster than for the new algorithm. For the worst case graphs, the new algorithm wins big. 200 seconds versus 2,500 seconds, or even 7,500 seconds. And for these semi-worst case, where you only have the short chains and the running time is n squared versus n, it's again, here it's almost an hour, and this is half a second. So it really pays off to get the better algorithm. So okay, let me go into the algorithms now. And I review basic material about matchings and augmenting path. And then I review the old algorithm, and then we go into the new. Okay, so let M be a matching. So recall what is a matching. A matching is a set of edges, no two of which share an endpoint. And the vertex is free if it's not incident to any edge in M. I assume that most of you are familiar with this terminology. Then we have alternating path. An alternating path uses edges outside the matching, edges in the matching, edges outside, alternatingly. And in my drawings, edges outside the matching are always just straight lines, and edges in the matching are wiggled lines or bold lines, depending on the figure. So an alternating path uses alternating edges in M and not in M, in E minus M and in M. And an augmenting path is an alternating path whose endpoints are free. And so here is an augmenting path. It's an alternating path, and the two endpoints are free. And then we can augment it, which just means we turn the matching edges and we turn the matching edges into non-matching edges and the non-matching edges into matching edges. Then we obtain this, and the cardinality is one larger. And all classical matching algorithms work in phases, and in each phase they augment one or more augmenting paths. And they do this as long as there is an augmenting path, and if there is no augmenting path anymore, the matching is maximum. And then one can also extract this node labeling, which I discussed at the beginning. So here is Edmond's algorithm. It grows trees, alternating trees. So it takes a free vertex, and it grows a tree. It starts with non-matching edges, then there come matching edges, non-matching edges, matching edges. And the vertices either have even distance from the root or odd distance. So here is even, then comes odd, then even, odd, even. And what the operations are the following. So if you have, and you start this tree growing process with all the free vertices, and all the matching edges are still in a reservoir. And how can you grow this tree? Well, you might have an even vertex, which has a neighbor V, which is not in any of the trees yet. Yeah, then because V is not in any of the trees yet, it's matched, so it has a mate. And then what we do is we add V, and the mate of V, we add it to the tree. So we make V a child of U, and the mate of V a child of V. Yeah, so this is growing. The other possibility is that the V is already in the tree and is also even. So this is this example here. U is in the tree, and you look at the neighbor, and V is also in the tree, and it's even. And then one says it closes a blossom. And what does this mean? I mean, if we add this edge here, edges that were odd before become even. For example, this edge here, this vertex here, it was odd because we had this path of length 3. But now we also have this path, and this path has lengths 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this vertex becomes even. Even means you have an even length path to it from a free vertex. Odd means all the paths to a free vertex have odd lengths. Yeah, so here are, I've drawn this blossom as I circled it. And the other case is you have an edge connecting two even vertices, but they are in different trees. Yeah, here U and V, they were both even, and we discovered this edge, and they are in the same tree. Then it closes the blossom. And here I've shown an example where we have two even edges, two even vertices, namely U is even, has distance 2. V is even because it has distance 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we have an edge here. And then we have an augmenting path. Namely, we go from U back to its root. We get to go from V back to its root along an even length path. And then this edge, and now we have an augmenting path. And so in generally, we explore a non-matching edge UV incident to an even vertex. And depending on the status of V, already in a tree or not, if it's not in a tree, we grow. If it's already in a tree and is even, we either form a blossom or we have an augmenting path. And if it's odd, we don't do anything because we are not, we are really interested in even length paths because even length paths allow us to form augmenting path. Okay, so this is Edmonds' algorithm. And the root NM algorithm, so Edmonds' algorithm just does a search and finds one augmenting path. It augments it, does another search, and so on. The root NM algorithms, they work in phases, and in each phase they find a maximal number of edge disjoint minimal length augmenting path. And minimal length augmenting path, I will abbreviate by SAP, shortest augmenting path, a SAP. Now, what can one say about these phases? So one augments a maximal, not maximum, maximal. Just you have edge disjoint path of minimal length and the maximal number of them, meaning there is no other augmenting path of shortest length which is disjoint from them. Now, we will see that these phases can be implanted basically in linear time or in time m alpha n. This is how I actually implement it with the alpha. And the important thing is, if you augment a maximal number of edge disjoint paths, then in the new graph, with respect to the new matching, shortest augmenting path will be longer. So in the first phase, you find augmenting path of length 1. In the second phase, you find augmenting path of length 3, then augmenting path of length 5, 7, 9, and so on. And so that means after root n phases, SAPs have lengths at least root n, and you're not far away from the optimum. Namely, the current matching has size at least the size of the optimum matching, m star, minus root n. I will prove this in a moment, but what does this imply? That implies that another root n phases, where you always find an augmenting path, brings you to the optimum. Yeah? So in the first root n phases, you reach almost the optimum, you're root n away, and then you need only to do another root n augmentation, and you have the optimum. So that means the total number of phases is at most 2 root n. And if each phase runs in time m alpha n, you have a running time of root n times n, maybe times the alpha. Now, why is this that you only root n away? Well, look at what you have in the moment, the current matching in the algorithm. Let m star be a maximum matching. So then if you look at the symmetric difference of the two, then what does this recall? In a matching, every vertex has at most one incident edge in a matching. So this means here, if you look at the vertex and you have, let's say this is a red matching and this is a blue matching. If you look at the symmetric difference, if you have a vertex and it's incident to red vertex and incident to a blue, oops, I thought this is a blue. Yeah, then you have this alternating, and even you have an alternating cycle or alternating path. And because you're only root n away, one of these paths must have lengths at most n, with the number of edges that you can have in these cycles, divided by the difference in the cardinality. So one must be short. Yeah. And that means you're only root n away. And now about the other two parts I talk later. Okay. So here is the algorithm by Gabov. It works iteratively. In each phase, it adds a maximal number of shortest augmenting paths. And then, as we have just seen, we have at most 2 root-in phases. Each phase consists of 3 substeps. You first determine the length of a shortest augmenting path. Then you construct an auxiliary graph H with the property that augmenting paths in H are in 1-to-1 correspondence to SAPs in G. So augmenting path in H correspond to SAPs in G. You find the maximal number of edge disjoint augmenting paths in H, just edge disjoint augmenting paths. There is no condition on shortest here. And then you lift them to SAPs in G and you augment them. And what we have done, we have simplified the first substep, namely to determine the length of the SAPs. Gabo uses an adaptation of his algorithm together with Tarjan for maximum weight matchings, and then he uses LP duality. We give a direct combinatorial algorithm, and I believe it is but this is, of course, a subjective opinion. I believe this is much simpler, and this will make the algorithm teachable. Step 2 is unchanged, but requires new proof, and step 3 is unchanged. Okay, here are the main concepts for the simplification. So let me introduce two notions. LCP of X, length canonical path. This is the length of a shortest even length alternating path ending in X and starting in a free node. Yeah, so you look at even length alternating path starting in a free node and ending in X. Because it's alternating, it will then end in a matching edge in X. And we look at the shortest such path, and the length of it is the LCP of X. And if X does not have an even length alternating path to it, then we use LCP odd of X, namely the length of a shortest odd length alternating path ending in X, and starting as a free vertex. So these are our two main concepts, LCPX and LCP odd of X. And we organize the exploration into phases, delta equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. And we grow search structures. And as before, we say a node is even if there is an even length alternating path ending in it. It's odd if it belongs to the search structure, but is not even, and it's unlabeled otherwise. And at the beginning, we take the free vertices and we make them roots of search structures, and these nodes are even, and all other nodes are matched and unlabeled. So this is how we start. We have all these free vertices, and we make them roots, and then we have this reservoir we have the other vertices, and they're all matched. And then there are some more edges. And then in each phase, we add edges incident to even nodes. And here is what we do. So let X be even and XY an edge. If Y is odd, if Y is already part of a search structure and is odd, we don't do anything. If Y is unlabeled, then we do the following. Assume that the LCP value of X is delta minus 2. Then we grow the tree. We have X here. We make Y a child of X, and we add Y prime. In my pictures, trees will always grow downwards. So the roots are at the top, and I grow trees downwards. So we add the edges XY and YY prime, where Y prime is the mate of Y. And, well, then clearly Y is odd, and its odd LCP value is delta minus 1. And the LCP value of Y prime, it's again even, is delta. And the other thing is if Y is also even, and it's not in the same blossom, and the sum of the LCP values is 2 delta minus 2. And I will explain on the next slide, or maybe slide after next, why I have delta minus 2 here and 2 delta minus 2 here. Then what we do, we add this edge XY, and it forms a blossom, or it constructs an augmenting path, and then this augmenting path has, of course, length 2 delta minus 1. One more. So if it forms a blossom, so here is an example. We have grown a tree with root A. we have the edge that we add is this edge EH. We have the vertices A at level 0, B has a distance 1, C and D has distance 2, D and E are both even and have distance 4. Namely, for example, to E you can go A, B, C, D, E. Then here on the right-hand side, again, everything is even, except the F. The F is odd, but the other, for example, the H has distance 6. We go like this. And now we add the edge EH, and the sum of the two LCP values is 10. So we do this for delta equal to 6, because 10 is 4 plus 6 minus 2. What? 4 plus 6. 4 plus 6 is 2 times 6 minus 2, like this. Yeah, so it's we do this in phase delta. And before B and now some nodes become even. Namely, B and F become even because, for example, for F, I have this path now, this even length path. It's alternating and it ends in F with a matching edge. And the distance is 10. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This will be the distance. And the way we can compute this distance is we take the LCP value of x and y, we add 1 for the additional edge, and we subtract the odd value of z, because I showed you this in detail on the next picture. Here is the z. We are interested in the length of this path, and the length of this path is the length of, how do I draw this now? It's the length of this plus 1 plus the length of this minus the length of this. Yeah, so this gives us this formula. LCP of x plus 1 plus LCP of y minus LCP odd of z, and this is 2 delta minus 1. So it's quite easy to compute. Let me run a more substantial example for you so that we get familiar. So here is our graph. There are two free vertices, namely the vertex A and the vertex L. They're both free. Let's see whether we can find an augmenting path. So at delta equal to 0, we just have the two free vertices at distance 0. Then at delta equal to 2, we start growing the tree and we add B and C and F and G and M and N. B, F, and M are odd. C, G, and N are even at distance 2. Then in delta equal to 3, we do nothing. Delta equal to 4, we grow the trees further. So on this side, we add D and E. On this side, we add H and I and J and K. And then we also have this edge connecting E and C. And this is the sum is 6, which is the same as 2 times 4 minus 2. So we also add this edge EC in this phase, and we have formed this blossom. C, D, and E now form a blossom. At delta equal to 5, we look at this edge connecting I and K, and we form this blossom. And the effect of this is that H and J become even, because for both of them now we have this even length path. And also we over here we have the edge connecting. We grow here to P to Q and R, and then at delta equal to 6, we add this edge here, as I've shown you on the previous picture. And then we go on at delta equal to 7. We finally add this edge connecting F and N. Why? Because 10 plus 2 is 2 times 7 minus 2. And so at the end, we have this. We have formed this large blossom. This was the large, I mean, we first grew the small blossom, then this blossom, and then we added this. We had a blossom comprising all the red nodes. Over here, we have a blossom consisting of these green nodes. And then we contract the graph. The graph which we use for phase 2 is we contract the blossoms, the maximal blossoms. So here, this contains A to K. Then we have down here is one which contains P to R. And the only edge that we have between here is this here. And then we search for an augmenting path here, and we find one. Namely, we start here, and we go like this. And then we lift this again, because over here we added F, and we know why F became even, namely because there is this alternating path. So we fill it in here, and we have the entire augmenting path. So why is this, why did I say we grow out of vertices with LCP value delta minus 2? So we grow out of even vertices with LCP equal to delta minus 2, and we add even with LCP sum equal to 2 delta minus 2. Why is this why is this the right schedule? Okay, first we want to find the sap. A sap is an augmenting path, and so it's formed when we find a bridge between distinct trees. The length of this augmenting path is the LCP value of x plus the LCP value of y plus 1. And therefore, we want to do these bridge steps in order of increasing LCP sum, because we want to find a shortest augmenting path. Therefore, we do these bridge steps in order of increasing LCP sum. Similarly, because we do want to find a shortest, we do grow steps according to increasing LCP value. Yeah, so this is already clear how we should schedule different grow steps. We schedule them according to different to increasing LCP value. And bridge steps we also schedule according to increasing LCP sum. But now how is the interaction between the two? Now, if we grow out of a node at level delta minus 2, we create new even nodes at level delta that may form bridges with existing even nodes at level delta minus 2, but not smaller. Why is this? Because you grow here. Yeah, so this was delta. This was delta minus 2. This is delta. And let's say there is an even node here, and they are connected by an edge. Now, if this has level less than delta minus 2, less than delta minus 2, then we would have grown out of here and made this node here a child of this node. So, but because we added here, such an edge does not exist. So it may form bridges with existing even nodes at level delta minus 2, but not smaller. Therefore, we might have bridge. So if we grow out of a node of level delta minus 2 and we create this node at level delta, we may induce bridge steps with this LCP sum, delta plus delta minus 2. And therefore, we should do bridge steps with LCP sum delta 2 delta minus 2, not before. We cannot do them before growth steps out of LCP delta minus 2. Yeah? So this means this here we should do after this. Now, let's see at LCP sum. So we do a bridge step with LCP sum 2 delta minus 2. This will make some nodes even. Yeah, remember, we have a bridge steps. And here is the root, and we have, it looks like this. And for example, this guy might become even. It was odd before, and it becomes even. Well, if this node becomes even, let me call it V here. What is it? Its new LCP value. It's the LCP value of X plus the LCP value of Y plus 1 minus the LCP, its odd LCP value that it had before. Now this here is 2 delta minus 2 because we do a bridge step. We have the plus 1. And this odd value is at most delta minus 1. Why is it at most delta minus 1? Because we have only grown up to level delta. Delta is an even number. So delta minus 1 is the largest odd number that we have. So this means what we subtract here is at most delta minus 1. And therefore, the new LCP value is at least delta. So taking all of this together, the way we should order it is for even delta, we do growth steps out of LCP value delta minus 2, then bridge steps with LCP value 2 delta minus 2, then bridge steps with sum 2 delta, then we increase delta by 2 and repeat. This is the correct order. Okay, now, how am I doing in time? It's 10:56, so I talked for maybe 10 more minutes. So the auxiliary graph is easily constructed. We take the blossoms before the breakthrough phase. So we had, recall in my example, we had this red blossom and we had this green blossom. These were the maximal blossoms. And then in the next phase, we found this edge connecting F and N with LCP sum 12. And then it's not too hard to show that saps enter every such blossom through the base. And the edges that we put into the auxiliary graph is this here. We take even edges with the correct LCP sum, even odd edges if the nodes are in adjacent layers, even unlabeled if the even node has LCP value delta minus 2, because we would have done growth step out of these vertices, but we found the augmenting path first. And unlabeled are just the matching edges. We add the matching edges. This is our auxiliary graph. And now I have to tell you how we find the maximal set of disjoint augmenting path in this auxiliary graph. This is fairly simple. There's nothing new here. Namely, for all three vertices, we start at DFS. So before we searched for shortest augmenting path, and then sort of a breadth first strategy was the right thing. Now we search for a maximal number of edge disjoint path, and then DFS is the right strategy. So we do a DFS search from every free vertex, and we do a DFS on an undirected graph. So we get tree edges, forward edges, and backward edges. And the right thing to do is to explore bridges as forward edges. So here's an example. Here's the root, and we have grown a tree from here. Then at some point we have, here's an even node, an odd node, an even node, an odd node. Okay, let me draw this again. Even, odd, even, odd, even, odd, even. And we have made recursive calls. So X from here, we went to V1 and then to B1, and we made the recursive call, and then to V2 and B2, recursive call to V2 and BY. We always do recursive calls for the even nodes. And suppose we haven't found an augmenting path. So then we backtrack to BX, and then we see this forward edge here. So then all the odd nodes here become even. Yeah, so this becomes even, this becomes even, this becomes even. And we come here, and we do now we do a depth first search for V3. And of course, this has other children, but now it is very important that we walk all the way up. The first recursive call that V3 makes is for V2. The first recursive call that V2 makes is for V1. It's important. This is what I say here. We make recursive calls for V1, V2. It's just two ways of saying it. We make a recursive call for V3, which immediately calls V2, which immediately calls V1. And only then in V1 we explore all the neighbors. Or an alternative way is we just say we put the V1, V2, V3 on the recursion stack and continue with V1. And why is this so important? Because imagine you search for an augmenting path from V1 by these recursive calls, and you're unsuccessful. Then you back up to V2. And the important thing is, you cannot, because we are unsuccessful, you cannot reach a free node from V1. If you would do the searches in a different order, let's say you are here down here, and you immediately search out here. And you could be lucky and you find an augmenting path, which then goes like this. But then there could be another augmenting path that goes like this. And you would somehow have to find this augmenting path later. It's much better to walk up here to find this augmenting path and then say, okay, I terminate everything, and this is my augmenting path. This does not find a maximum. You might be able to, if you do a different strategy, you might be able to find more augmenting path. But remember, we are searching for a maximal number of augmenting path. And this is the right strategy. Okay, let me summarize. Gabo's algorithm and our refinement has running time root n times m. On sparse random graphs of sufficient density, the running time is n log n. This is almost matched by the old algorithm with the Kesugioğlu-Pekör heuristic. On worst case graphs, the algorithm wins big. If we have short and long chains, it's root n times m versus n times m. If you have short chains only, it's even linear versus quadratic. And we have seen examples that it is less than a second versus almost an hour. The implementation has about 500 lines of code. The old algorithm is simpler. It has about 2/3 of this, 330. The refinement does away with primal dual, which was needed for Gabel's description of the algorithm. I think it makes the algorithm, this description of the algorithm simpler. It makes it teachable. The paper will be available at archive before the end of, I would say, the next month. And it contains a link to the code. And I thank you for your attention, and I'm up for questions.
Thanks, Kurt, for this wonderful talk. So I'm sure there will be some questions.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I couldn't interact with you directly. Just it's always difficult to give a talk without an audience and without immediate feedback from the audience. So, but I hope it went well anyway.
So it was, I really enjoyed it. So I have a question actually about this new change that you did. So because of this refinement, similar improvements can be obtained in the, say, max flow algorithms or something like that?
Well, max, okay. I mean, for max flow or shortest path, we have all these improvement in recent years, which are based on continuous methods, right? So we have now for shortest path, also for max flow, we have these algorithms which have running time near linear. And also for bipartite matching, because it's a special case of max flow, we have these near linear algorithms. The general matching has resisted this attack. It can also be formulated as a linear program, but it's a linear program with an exponential number of constraints. And so these new techniques based on continuous methods don't apply here. Also, I have not really seen experimental work which demonstrates that these new approaches, which asymptotically are much, much faster, are actually faster on the size on the instances that we can actually solve. Yeah, on graphs with, let's say, with a few million nodes and vertex edges. So I think this is something which still has to be shown, that these theoretical advances
Any more
lead to.
questions? So if not, let's thank Kurt again for this wonderful talk. And
Okay, then I wish you further a continuation of a successful conference.
Thank you, sir, for your insightful talk. So we'll take a leave from him.
okay, thanks, Kurt.
Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah.
And thank you, Dr. Chakraborty, for chairing the session.
I as a student, I have studied from your two for Maxwell algorithms. I have used it in my master's thesis. I'm extremely happy that I see you give a talk in my
Thank you, Dr. Chakraborty, for chairing the session. I would like to request our HOD sir, Professor Shubhashish Mojumdar, to kindly felicitate Dr. Chakraborty. Can we have a round of applause for him? Thank you once again, sir. Now we will have a very short tea coffee break for 10 minutes. We'll reassemble here after 10 minutes to start the technical session on track A, that is discrete algorithms and applications.